I'll never succumb, guys, to the whole mindset that Kansas State fans should strive for mediocrity and be happy with being average. That's just never going to be me.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Three Ma. I am John Kurtz, joined by Derek Young and Cole Manbeck. K-State's got one football game left this year. It is against the Colorado Buffaloes. Deion Sanders coming in with a 3-win team. It is the DY Bowl. You know, we've got one member of this show who covers both teams. So it's the DY Bowl. Cole has already punted on doing any research on Colorado, so it all rests squarely on the shoulders of Derek. Any Colorado-specific talk today? It's brought to you by our good friends at Holiday Distillery. They bring you Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon. They bring you 360 vodka. Make sure and get that if you have a watch party coming up this weekend, if you've got watch parties for K-State basketball, whatever it is that you might need, or holiday get-togethers, right? Thanksgiving week. Bring the family some Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon. You'll be a hit. Thank you to our friends at Holiday Distillery. All right. So we've got DY with us now, who is on location with K-State basketball. As we record here on Tuesday, K-State basketball playing tonight against Indiana, which should be a very cool experience. But DY, we've not gotten your thoughts after what was, frankly, a really emotional day, I think, for like everybody on Saturday. That's what really sticks with me as I think about everything that happened in a game that we all went into thinking like this will be pretty ho-hum. You're going to get thumped. Move on to the next one, and instead the way K-State played, record-setting performance offensively combined with a collapse at the end, mix in some controversial officiating, and then two emotional press conferences, right? Both head coaches were crying at their press conference. Like, it was just, there was so much that happened with that. So many emotions for so many people. Everybody's reacting emotionally. Okay, it's not just Chris Klieman because, oh boy, fans, us included, everybody's reacting emotionally after that game. So your take, DY, on everything that transpired on Saturday.
Yeah, there's a lot to wrap your head around. I was in Salt Lake and actually missed the game because I was so sick I couldn't get out of bed. So I'll kind of use a phrase that Andy Staples used, and he kind of talked about the game in the post game a little bit. He's like, there was, because he said, the way that game transpired, obviously he didn't think Utah was going to win once K-State went up 47-35. But like, you just know it's one of those types of games if at the end of the game, after the game, both coaches are crying. That was an emotional filled game. Obviously you went in not thinking Kansas State had a shot, and they fought so hard that they competed and definitely should have won that game. Another 2-score lead in the fourth quarter that they let evaporate. And that was as much of an imprint that the officials have put on a game that I can remember too, is what I would say as well. I think that's fair. I also said in kind of my column afterwards, trying to make sense of that press conference. And obviously I get no one wants me to sit here and defend or justify actions. I kind of tried to say where I thought they were coming from, right? And I basically said, and John, Cole, you guys both covered games for a long time. You know this. There's especially in NCAA tournaments and playoff games and bowl games, there's a mandated cool down period. That game was the way that it unfolded needed a cool down period. And obviously there wasn't one long enough. And that's why you kind of saw some of the raw uncut emotion from both head coaches, in my opinion. I think if you give Klieman, and I'm not trying to justify his actions here, but if you give him another 15 or 20 minutes, I don't think he touches what he touched in that press conference. I don't think he goes to where he went in that press conference. I think that was justified by his Monday press conference, right? Where he was asked to kind of follow up on his emotional outburst, so to speak. And he basically gave an answer to just get me out of this question as fast as I can. Yeah. Didn't want to touch it. That's the typical Klieman you get. You get the boring, I'm not going to give you a straight answer type thing. You didn't get that Saturday night because I think emotions were still high strung because he knows that they played with an effort good enough to win the game. And he knows that not a lot of teams can do that against Utah. So he felt really proud of them because of that. That doesn't mean he's proud of 5-6. It means he was proud of them that night. The problem is, if they had that kind of fight and that kind of battle in them that he commended that night, they wouldn't be 5-6. I totally agree with that. So I don't think there's any problem with him going to bat for his players on that given night or his program. Just that, if you would have got it out of them more than that night or a couple nights, you wouldn't be 5-6. I think those are all things can be true. And I think they are. The only times where I kind of cringed a little bit, whenever you ask for a little bit of respect when you have a losing record, it's probably not going to go a good way, even if your thought and meaning behind it is not exactly what the surface would tell you. The fans are going to not eat that up. I deserve a little respect when the last time you won the Big 12 was 3 years ago and you're sitting 5-6. That's not going to go over well. I'm not saying you don't have a right to feel that way. You feel however way you want, but that's just not going to go over well. And I assume that's what a lot of the vitriol has been about. I don't think Gene Taylor made things better either by going up there and basically getting caught on a hot mic, so to speak, saying you're not going anywhere and you have nothing to worry about. So I think both things could be true. I think everyone wants to rush to one side here. I think there's a really good medium to hit. And I'll say this too, and you guys can attest because you talked to some of the same sources that I have. In terms of, I think some of the fan outburst and anger and rage has been along the lines of paranoia about what the national perception and reaction will be. Well, I've talked to recruits and their parents, both committed and not committed to Kansas State. They actually loved it. Pretty consensus there. And you guys know this. They have actually got more outreach and outpouring of donor support since that press conference. The players loved it. Avery Johnson's dad has never defended Klieman so much more on social media than he has in the last 48 hours. If you want to go look on that. And don't look at the comments towards him because they're really bad. He's getting dragged and really torn apart by fans, and it's kind of unhealthy to a point, to be quite honest. Other coaches love it. I've seen 7 Power 5 coaches mention Chris Klieman's press conference without even being asked about it in their press conference. So I don't think the reaction's what people expected either.
I have a lot of thoughts. I think that's all really good, DY. I'm pretty in line with you on that. Like when we first, I was trying so hard to be measured because we caught it. I don't know if you probably didn't see the post game, DY, but we caught it. Like we were like 20 minutes into the show and caught it, and then like
I was sending it to you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and like tried to listen to it live, and like, when you're in that moment, like I'll speak for myself. I didn't think that I had that much emotion left in me for this K-State football season, and you guys, some of you have given us a hard time in the comments about that, being sort of emotionless about the season. I thought I was pretty checked out, but like, man, yeah, it was hard not to be like wrapped up in it and proud of those dudes for the way that they were playing. It was unbelievable. Like I can't believe that they did that. And it did bring me back in. And I was upset about the officiating and like all of these things. Like I was brought back in, and that is definitely a testament to those guys and what they did. And so in the immediate aftermath of that, you got all these raw feelings and emotions, and then you hear that. And yeah, the thing that triggered frustration in me is exactly what you said, DY, when it's the asking for respect, and it feels like it's a bit of fan shaming, which I'm sure that's how, like, at the raw emotion Klieman really feels. I don't think, like you said, he actually wanted to do that at a microphone. I think all that can be very true. And like, dude, of course he feels like that behind the scenes. Like, I heard someone say, like, hey, it was someone who was being critical of him. I think it was some Utah radio guys or something. They were like, that's a moment that you have behind the scenes, not at a microphone. And I'm like, hey, I think that's kind of fair. But again, there's no cooling off period. And Klieman should feel that way. Not everybody. Many people have been calling for his job, or calling for basically the younger model, right? They're saying, go take Colin Klein, this guy who used to coach under you. Everyone wants you pushed out for him. Like, of course he's going to feel that way. Like, hey, I deserve a little bit more respect. That's any single one of you complaining about it would feel that way if you were in his shoes. I do understand how the issue then is when it comes across the mic. So when I first hear that, I'm definitely frustrated by it. I also get frustrated by then there's like a wave of support for him, which that's fine. There should be, especially from people that are close to the program. But then I feel like it turns very quickly into two-sided America thing where it's anybody who has doubt in Chris Klieman's ability to get it back to a Big 12 championship level is a hater and not a real fan and a terrible person. I mean, that's what I get frustrated by then seeing the reaction to that. And it feels like there's that natural ebb and flow. Whereas to me, I think there's a real middle ground here. I understand Chris Klieman feeling that way. I undoubtedly would too. I don't love that it came across at a microphone, but having some time to think about it, like I can understand. I appreciate that he just deflected really quickly and kind of went away from it on Monday and didn't let it become more of a story. And I still have major doubts about his ability to get the program back to a Big 12 championship level. But I do respect him as a person, and I respect his accomplishments that he's had here at K-State. I think all those things can be true. All those things can be true.
I wanted to clarify a few things before I give the mic here to Cole. One, I wasn't excusing anything that's happened this season either. Like I said, the problem is you only got that kind of performance a few times this season. That's the issue. It's still a failure of a season in my mind. They've still underachieved 3 straight years. None of that has changed. I can still think both things. 2, I think it was the lack of a cooldown period. But if we're all being honest here, it was the wrong time to ask for some respect. I understand why he might feel that way, but it was the wrong time to do that. He shouldn't have done that. 3, I think we got to be careful here too. So the people are like, have been accusing him of not caring and not having enough fire. And then he goes and shows that he does. So that's something to keep in mind. And 4, yeah, I think I keep saying it, he's not an idiot. There's the elephant in the room where he clearly knows that there's enough people, a probably significant segment of people that want him out and Colin Klein in. And he feels like, hey, I've done a pretty good job here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the cooldown period changed. It feels like a message he wanted out. Because if he regretted anything that he said, guys, my advice would have been on Monday in the press conference to walk back a little bit of what he said, but he didn't. He chose to say, quote, I care for the kids. I'm not going to apologize. I'm always going to have their back. Here's the problem with that. The statement that he gave, while the emotions are great and everything, and I'm glad to hear that players and others are reacting in a positive light, but he didn't make it about his players in the press conference. He made it about himself. Here's the quote. I've heard I cashed it in. I've heard the players have cashed it in. We need to get new leadership here. We need to get new players, new coaches. I'm tired of it. I got to be honest. I'm tired of it. I've given my friggin' ass to this place for 7 years. I've given everything for 7 years, and I think I deserve a little bit of respect. Do you hear all of the I's in that statement? It's all about I, Chris Klieman. I deserve respect. That's my problem. Okay. He is the CEO of the football program. Okay. He cannot go out and do that. The CEO of the football program and one of the most important faces of the university, the fans and donors are your investors. They are your shareholders. A CEO cannot go out and publicly state that he deserves respect after failing to meet or deliver on expectations over a 3-year period, particularly this season. When you don't achieve the results that are expected, you can't go out with a message that I need more respect. That does not fly. So that's where my problem is. If he wanted to walk it back, he should have walked it back and said, look, I didn't mean for that to come across as a shot to the fan base who sell out every game, even when we're not playing good football, and they keep showing up. I love our fans. That should have been the message. Instead, he gave an 8-word statement that he wasn't going to walk back anything that he said. So he wanted it out there, clearly. So without a cool down period or not, he maybe doesn't get as emotional in terms of tears and everything. And I'm not making fun of that. It's fine to be emotional. It was the words, the message delivery that struck with me that really bothered me. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I mean, you certainly represent our Discord, patreon.com/3ma. I know I know that's how most of them feel. I would just say a part of this, like, let's be accountable here. I mean, the narrative, I'm only focusing in on a piece of what he said, Cole, in fairness. But a part of the I there is I've heard that I cashed it in and like we cashed it in as a team. And DY did hit on that. Like, we were really saying that. I mean, the Oklahoma State game, it did look like that in fairness, but it felt like that. And a lot of us had said that. And the thought, the reason that this Klieman retirement thing caught steam is because everybody was whispering behind the scenes back in September, like, oh, the game has changed and Klieman doesn't have the same sort of fire. I mean, like, that's the game of telephone that's going on behind the scenes. And he did go out and prove that, like, in the midst of a bad year where we're all sitting here doing a show predicting them to maybe not even score, DY, they went out and put, what they 47 on Utah and broke Darren Sproles' individual rushing record without, having the weapon of Jace Brown on offense to distract anything. Like, just in fairness, like, he probably did deserve to be able to be up there and say, hey, you guys all said that I cashed it in. How about that? Like, there's a piece of this that I will defend him on. Like, we say a lot of things. And, like, again, I defend anybody that has doubts. I think there are legitimate reasons to have doubts about where the program is going. I have them. I share them. But at the same time, he deserved a little bit of a moment to dunk on at least what the effort was and what some of the narrative has been about him.
If you don't want people to think that, don't deliver performances that give the appearance of that at Oklahoma State or Stillwater, and don't trot out excuse after excuse all season. That's why people have that perception. People think he's tired of the landscape of college football because he continually repeats the limitations of the roster limits and where college football is going and how he hates the direction of all of this. And so that's why people have that perception. I have no doubt that Chris.
That's why I can understand both sides here, because he was so proud of the way they performed. And right after the game, he wanted to share that. On the other side, and this is what I get it. Like, I don't give a crap how good you guys performed on one night, because you did it one night when you've had 11 nights to do it. So I think both have a valid defense there, in my opinion. What I would say is and I'm sure he would have a bad. I think it was the wrong time to maybe ask for some respect, as Cole laid out. And yeah, it was I think it's easy to have thoughts on both sides of it. I'm not going to crush him, but you can feel proud about the way they performed, but your fans can also be upset you didn't do that enough this year.
Yeah. Hey, totally fair. I mean, I agree with you, DY. Like, I understand it. Cole, I have some of the same feelings that you do here. I just think we need to accurately represent. I mean, there's a lot going on here. This is what frustrates me about it. I mean, it's just how everybody is these days, but, like, this is very nuanced, man. This is a nuanced discussion. This is not, he's an idiot, fire him, or he's the greatest, you're all haters if you say anything against him. Like, it is very layered and nuanced, and there's so much, like, human emotion and things that are involved here. But yes, you're right. It is maddening that they could put forth that effort with that many players being out. And then at the same time, in September, they play 3 straight games against North Dakota Army and Arizona, where they looked like the most lifeless, worst Power 4 football program in the country.
And then
maybe UCLA. Like, how is that possible? And how can you not reconcile that to be a little bit more consistent throughout the season? Yes, it is very frustrating. It's maddening. And you don't get to just get a pass on that because you stood up and had one great performance against Utah. I totally agree. And that is why I do have doubts about where the program is going. Like, there's always been some level of, like, frustration with not being able to maintain consistent performances. We've seen some really high highs. We've seen the tweets that were out this week that K-State clearly trying to push. Like, Klieman has 5 top 10 wins, whatever it is. He's had some really high highs, and then there have been some really low lows. And I think that's what we've always wondered. Like, can you be consistent enough to not have a 7-1 start and then fall off a cliff, right? And that's been the thing that I don't know, especially when Colin Klein's not walking through that door as your offensive coordinator anymore. I don't know if they can recapture that. So I get it. I have all those frustrations too.
two things for me is one, I think the rage and the polarity in the fan base, like two sides. It's about him asking for respect in that given moment when you're 5-6, and the fact that he will go to bat for them when they show a lot of fight. And I get it, but he will never. But like when things were bad, he didn't do the reverse, right? He's covering it up. Like I will say this: I know of some fans out there, and I get it, that are livid that he would defend them and go to bat for him the way he did right there. But he's never called this season unacceptable yet.
Yeah, totally agree. And that is one of the things I do remember saying in postgame in the immediate aftermath of it is like, my frustration is, can you just say that this year has been unacceptable? And it was so, especially in September, it was like, it felt like football program and athletic department were just not acknowledging, not just that they're losing it, guys. It's not even just about the fact that you're 1-3. It's how you looked when you were 1-3. It was so bad, and nobody seemed to want to fully embrace or acknowledge that. So yes, valid criticism, valid frustration to have. I get it. And especially when 1 week earlier we had the I'm not going to apologize for winning in Stillwater comment, which I think is very much in that vein where you're like, no, dude, that was not an acceptable performance. Please call it that. And instead you got none of that. So, again, I think there's a lot going on here. A lot going on at Arrowhead Stadium as well. Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We're back in just a moment.
Missouri, big news. It's almost your turn to get in the game because DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Show Me State on December 1st. Soon you'll get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. No wonder it's America's top-rated sportsbook app. The countdown is on. New customers can sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New Missouri customers sign up today and score $300 in bonus bets once we're live. That's code KCSN. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are not withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
So I'll bring this up. I know Cole's going to love this topic, but someone said this in the aftermath of that game where I was like, well, interesting comparison to bring up. There is one glaring difference between these, but look, Utah, who K-State just lost to, is probably going to finish 10-2. I'm sorry, Nick. They're probably going to beat Kansas this weekend. And they will finish just outside the playoff. They'll be like, in the top 13 or so. It's been a really nice bounce back season after they went 5-7 last year. They were 8-5 the year before, kind of a steady downward trend. Now they had real quarterback injury issues is one difference here, but there was discontent within Utah's football program. They already have a head coach in waiting. So I think you had a crowd that's like, look, Kyle, it's done, man. Get on out of here. They were patient with him. He came back and he went 10-2, had a really great bounce back season. So I guess DY, I'll start with you.
Gosh.
Well, if you want me to start with Cole, I can, but Cole just looks very angry. So I was gonna.
Yeah, no, this subject pisses me off already. So,
okay.
There's no way you could compare this. This is not comparable. I know where you're going.
I think there are some legitimate comparisons there. A part of the difference and what we'd have to talk about is what you're doing at quarterback because, Avery Johnson, I do think there's a lot of skill there, but it, hasn't worked out. Close games, winning games, that kind of clutch thing. That's a whole offseason discussion, probably, what you want to do there. And I don't think, it looks like that marriage is going to continue into next year, I think. So Utah does have the excuse that they had the Cam Rising injuries. But there was a sentiment of like people wanting to run Kyle Whittingham out, an accomplished coach that had been there a while, and they turned it around. So DY, your take on it. Is there any chance that something like that happens?
Kansas State can always figure it out. The Big 12 is pretty flat. That you're probably going to get a team in Arlington close to every year that maybe you wouldn't always expect. So I'm not saying Kansas State absolutely. It's not that. I wouldn't pick it. And I wouldn't say that I'm giving it credence just because of what Utah did, because I don't think there's enough similarities between the two. What I would say is, like, I wouldn't give Utah an out for the quarterback stuff last year either. They brought that on themselves. They knew the Cam Rising risk and didn't do anything about it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Utah is going to win 10 or more games in 4 of their last 6 seasons. There's just no comparison to what Kyle Whittingham's accomplished to what Chris Klieman's accomplished at Kansas State. They played in back-to-back Rose Bowls in 2001, 2022 as well. Like, a bounce back could be foreseen with Kyle Whittingham and what the changes that they made. And here's what Kyle Whittingham also did. He brought in a new offensive coordinator in Jason Beck. He made changes to his program. Do we have confidence that will happen at Kansas State? Will Chris Klieman be creative? Will he come up with hires that work and overhaul things to get to an answer here? Like, guys, Chris Klieman since 2023 now is 0-7 against the top 3 teams in the Big 12 standings. He's 1-8 against the top 4 teams in the league standings. Out of the 15 Big 12 wins he's had since 2023, 11 have been against teams that finished with losing records overall in the season, assuming KU and UCF do not win this weekend to get to 6-6. Those teams in the 15 league wins that Klieman's recorded have a combined winning record, or a combined record of 50-90 in the league during that time. Kansas State's best league wins since 2023 are in 2023 against Kansas, who was 9-4 overall and 5-4 in the Big 12. Texas Tech in 2023 was 7-6 overall and 5-4 in the league. Colorado in 24, which was 9-4 overall and 7-2 in the Big 12. And TCU this year in 2025, 7-4 overall and 4-4 in the Big 12. Those are the only 4 teams that Chris Klieman has beaten in Big 12 play over the last 3 years that have finished with a winning record overall. They don't get over the hump. They don't beat good teams. How could anyone expect that Kansas State would get to a Big 12 championship next year when they've now given us a pretty good sample size of what they are, what this program is, without significant changes in overalls, which we have not seen done yet in Klieman's time, since Colin Klein obviously became the OC and Messingham and Jason Ray were fired. I don't have a lot of confidence that that's going to occur. I hope it occurs. I would love nothing more than to be dunked on and be proven wrong, but I don't know how anybody could really have that expectation. What I would expect is, a 7 to 8 win type season, potentially as a quote bounce back. And that's not good enough to me, but maybe it is to a lot of other people. I'll never succumb, guys, to the whole mindset that Kansas State fans should strive for mediocrity and be happy with being average. That's just never going to be me. I've seen comments about that, like, you want to fire a coach that gets 6-6. First of all, I don't want to fire Chris Klieman. I've never thought that Chris Klieman should be fired, nor that Kansas State was in a position that he could be fired when his worst season outside of the pandemic year would be a 6-6 type year. So let's be realistic here. I've never said that, but I also hate the mindset that like 6 to 8 wins being average, slightly above average, because K-State used to be so bad. Know your role in college football, guys. You should be grateful for this. Maybe it's because, John, you and me grew up in an era when Kansas State became a national power, so that's what we became familiarized with. But I also grew up in an era when Kansas State basketball was terrible, and I never succumbed to having low expectations. I always went to the games and wanted the very best to be a winner in college basketball. And when they hired Bob Huggins, I was thrilled and ecstatic with that Kansas State was doing things to move the needle. So I guess a place of my emotion comes from the fact that, like, I want championship expectations at Kansas State, not national championship. I'm realistic. I want Big 12 championship expectations. And I don't know if the standard is that right now when I hear the words that are spoken. Because, again, Chris Klieman has never said this is unacceptable. He only dunked on people when they stood up and showed everybody that they could compete with Utah, but he never dunked on himself or this staff when things were going poorly, to the point that you guys mentioned earlier. So that's where my frustration lies. I know I talked a lot there, but
I agree. You made a lot of good points, and I agree on the mindset. I'm that way too. I don't like when you put limitations on oneself. I don't think you should do that in life, both individually or team ever. Like, you can accomplish what you can accomplish. You go out and do it. You figure it out a way. I hate when sometimes it's like becomes the Kansas State thing, and I know that there is limitations. I get that, but it's just like, or we can't do that, or we're not able to do that. Like, that shouldn't be the first response. It's got to be like, let's figure out a way. I think that should be a response to those things. To your point, Cole, I agree. If Kansas State's going to get back into that Big 12 title mix next year, I think it would take a similar adjustment in offseason that Kyle Whittingham just did.
Yeah. Okay. Lots of things here. Cole, I agree with you. I mean, I hate the mindset, but to me, this is where I draw a line. And I was having this conversation with people in the Discord yesterday a little bit. Like, I draw a line a bit between football program and overall athletic department, because that attitude starts with athletic department. And that's my bigger issue right now. And I think that enables what you kind of hear coming from football program on that front right now. Plus, I will say, as much as we all wanted Klieman to, you said like dunk on himself or whatever, Klieman is very much player's coach. I think he's very cognizant of, in this day and age, they can just up and leave and transfer. And so I think that is some of why you don't hear him go off at the press conference. But yes, I still agree. I wish he would have said more when things are going poorly, or at least just not made as many excuses. You
don't have to throw anyone under the bus, though. You could almost just say one sentence at some point. This is unacceptable.
Right. Say he's failed. You don't have to say my players or anything. You just say, I have failed this program and the expectations. We have not met them. We're disappointed. We're going to fix it. Outline what are you going to do to fix it? So
yeah. Okay. So athletic department, I think to me, that's like that is my big thing. Like, football to me is downstream from, it does feel like an athletic department that is more accepting of that attitude that we all bristle at here. And instead of, hey, man, Texas Tech and Cody Campbell, well, they've got all this money. Hey, how about, like, what can we do? What can we do to be creative here? What can we do to tap into our billionaire that is out there? Like, how can we show a vision and a plan and have a staff showcase a dynamic vision for what K-State athletics can be in this new era? How can we, and I know some people bristled at the way he's done it, but how can we channel what Jerome Tang did to sell his vision to people, to get a bunch of money that it did not appear was there? Like, that's my frustration, and football trickles down from that. So that's just, you'll just hear me continue to beat that drum.
I've seen Gene Taylor annihilate a trash can repeatedly in the T-Mobile Center because of how competitive he is. I wish he would channel some of that to his actual operations. Like, be that competitive in every front.
Be that competitive about finding creative ways to generate money right now, when that's the name of the game.
Too, right? Gene do that? Yeah.
Yes. And I love that about him. And that's what, like, guys, I mean, I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. Like, yes, is there something to, I've had someone say to me, well, you guys crushed John Curry, and now it's like, it sounds like you really like his fundraising and vision right now. Guilty as charged. I did. Both of these guys, I think, were great ADs at the time for what they needed. K-State needed some vision at that time, and John Curry's tenure has aged very well. I think then you needed Gene Taylor, who's a guy that 1,000,000 times over, I would rather have a beer with Gene Taylor than John Curry. 1,000,000 times over. And he's that type of relationship guy, and there needed to be some repair in that area when he got here. I think he's been great. Well, now things have changed dramatically, even since K-State won a Big 12 championship in the last 2 or 3 years. And I think you got to shift a little bit. And so that's what we're saying. Yes, channel that competitive intensity that we know you have into fundraising and selling the vision there. One last thing, just on the football point, I'm going to defend my comparison a little bit here. Over the last 5 years, Cole, first of all, it's 3 10-win seasons in the last 5 years for Kyle Whittingham.
He's going to have his 4th in 6 years. You just said he's going to be KU, so it's going to be his 4th 10-win
Yeah,
season.
With that, it will be 3 10-win seasons in the last 5 years. Then there was a down. Then there was a COVID year, and then he won 11 the year before that. So it's 4-7 if you want to do that.
What's wrong with COVID year? They played 5 games, John. You can't count it. There was a pandemic. The Pac-12 played 5 games. That doesn't count. You can't win 10 games when you play 5.
I think it's weird to count. I think if you're going to compare the two, then you have to do just Big 12 seasons, though.
Okay, let me finish. Okay, since you're out here spewing lies about Chris Klieman never winning 4 straight games, let me finish correcting your stats, please.
It would be Chris win 4 in a row to start a season, so that there would be some hope. So yeah,
hey,
I apologize.
Cole, maybe when you get something wrong, just dunk on yourself and just take responsibility for it at the microphone.
John, I did get something wrong. The pandemic season, when you play 5 games,
you did last week.
Cole, I'm talking about the 4. You're defending yourself on the 4 straight thing. I'm just saying, take the L on the 4 straight thing. And let me point out that over the last 5 years, Chris Klieman's won 42 games. Kyle Whittingham's won 43. Yes, Kyle Whittingham has 2 conference championships. Chris Klieman has 1. I don't think it was that wild of a comparison. I understand the frustration. It'd be nice if he beat more teams with winning records. That has definitely been very frustrating, right? They've come painstakingly close. I mean, back to 23, right? They had Texas beat in overtime, and Will Howard picks the wrong hole to run through. Like, I get it. I'm not absolving him of anything. I'm just saying those 2 in the last 5 years were pretty comparable. I agree with DUI that part of Whittingham's error there was relying too much on Cam Rising. And then he did have a big change this offseason where he said, we got to go a totally different direction in quarterback. We got to go a totally different direction at offensive coordinator. And it worked. So I'm affording Chris Klieman the opportunity to go make some changes this offseason. Now, would I predict that they're going to win 10 games next year? No, I would not. But I'm at least submitting that as evidence since the programs have been very similar over the last 5 years.
I don't even like what he did at quarterback. Like, I don't think Devin Dampier is their best answer. They need to rock with Bird Ficklin.
Well, but that's a part of it, right? They brought him in too. He's a true freshman
from Oklahoma.
So they brought in Devin Dampier and Bird Ficklin. And I mean, a part of what, wow, this is
I don't think they ever thought Bird Ficklin was going to play in year 1, but yeah.
Maybe they thought they could use him a little bit because they've just slowly worked him in, and he turned out to be really dynamic. And then they had defensive players playing both ways at the beginning of the season to try and get their offense jump started. Obviously, they used Wildcat, like they used Wayshawn Parker a lot.
Hey, Quay Moss got a carry.
I mean, that's another part of it too. They went and got Wayshawn Parker, who's been phenomenal at running back, right? They hit the portal very effectively. So I'm at least affording that opportunity in the offseason. Wouldn't predict it, but I don't think that was a crazy comp, would be the point. We've done all of this, and Alenko's just going to, I'm sorry, Alenko, but you're going to get like I was like, I don't have like anything specific to Colorado. I really don't. We'll do Alenko here. AlenkoHome.com is where you get all your home improvement needs taken care of. They're K-State folks. So please do support them. ALENCO home.com. For that, I don't know. The only thought I had left here was like, we're talking about next season, right? What you're going to need to get. We had this big picture discussion the other day about like, what are the position groups that you need to hit hardest in the portal? How do you revamp the roster? Does anything change with a performance like Saturday on like, do you feel any better about the offensive line? Does it change how you feel things need to operate next year? Does it, look, you're still going to need to get running back help, but does it make you feel like, hey, Joe Jackson could be like RB2 next year? I mean, you can tell by my voice, I don't feel as confident in all that, but I am going to at least submit that to you. Did your perspective shift on any of the needs for next year?
No, I think my needs would still be the same along the offensive line and running back, but I was going to ask later in the show, so this is perfect time for it. Like, what do you think of Joe Jackson? Now, do you let that one game dictate what you think his impact or future might be? Maybe slightly. There was a little bit of burst or juice there that just hadn't been there in prior games. He actually took the right holes we didn't see as the vision issues that we saw in prior weeks. So there was improvement. I don't know that I mean, I know, actually. I know that I would not go into next season relying on him to be my bell cow running back number one. But would I give credence to the fact that he might have a little bit more juice to him than I thought? Yeah, we saw that at Utah. Why don't we see that every week from him? I would have those questions. I don't know if it's health related or not, but that was the freshest, fastest, and most explosive he's looked probably all year. Now, in the offensive line, that game is probably one for me where I wouldn't have a different opinion of the offensive line. I think more than anything, and I think the coaches basically said it too, they found a run game scheme, a blocking scheme that Utah wasn't ready for and never adjusted to and never could defend.
It's crazy how one game can change the numbers, obviously, when you rush for a school record, but now Joe Jackson's numbers look like what we would have hoped for coming into the season. 769 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. And he looked more explosive in that game. I mentioned to John in the post-game live Saturday that it made me wonder, just watching him play and the cuts that he was making. DY, was he a little dinged up or something early on the year?
Yeah.
See, it just looked night and day different. I mean, he was faster, he was more explosive, he had more burst. It wasn't just open holes. He had that cut in the open field for that 80-yard touchdown run. Those were things that he wasn't doing earlier in the year. And so, yeah, you do have to, consider that now and wonder, do we really only need to go get one really good running back in the portal if we think Joe Jackson? But you got to have a third running back you can count on too. We've seen the injury stuff this year. So I don't know what they think of the guys behind them, the younger running backs, Montario Elston, JB Price, etc. But you got to have confidence in the depth at running back. Offensive line, really interesting just to hear Klieman talk about how they went back to A-gap power and Connor Riley's scheme. And so I don't know what to make of that. He talked about yesterday in the press conference that it was really a matter of Utah in a single high and how they defend you as to why they thought that would work. So maybe not something that they could carry over game in and game out. But it's wild. It was one of the craziest performances I've ever seen. So I still think you need offensive line, obviously, in the portal. They had a true freshman out there again at guard in Villarreal on Saturday. He was also on the field at Baylor for some snaps. I think those were the two big games that he played in. Talalele has been out. So I don't know. I think they need O-line. Defense, they clearly need some help. I mean, guys, the 51 points, we talk about how great of an effort it was in performance, but you gave up the second most points in the entire Klieman era on Saturday with 51. The only game that was more is the pandemic season against Texas when I was one of 10,000 people in attendance and they put 69 on K-State. So the defensive performance was pretty poor, and all you were really missing on defense was Romaine and then Ryan Davis due to a completely undisciplined play. And then Rich got hurt late in the game, right? But DY, they had most of their starters, right, for that game. Coming into the season, outside of Romaine, and if Ryan Davis didn't do what he did, they had most.
Toby.
Justice Clements. They were Marion Fortenberry got hurt during the game as well.
I think their defense is. I think it's fair to say the defense was pretty depleted, man. Because Clements. Cole, you mentioned the press conference. What was the other thing he talked about?
Des Purnell did get hurt during the game as well and missed 4 drives, I think.
He said that in the post-game press conference, part of the issue they were having is that they were getting confused on Quay Moss was having to play multiple positions because of injuries, and they were getting confused on which position he was actually playing, if he was corner, or if he was more like the nickel. So I think it's fair to say they were pretty depleted. I'm not going to see. I mean, you still got to, the offense. They coached the offense into moving the ball when it seemed impossible when they didn't have anybody. So you still got to stop them.
Yeah, you guys give up less than 51 points. I would say that side of ball is even more banged up somehow.
Yeah. Do we have any? Cole, can I tease that you have anything on Colorado as we go to break? Is there really nothing on Colorado?
No, I didn't do anything on Colorado. So
okay, DY, it's all you. It's all you when we come back.
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and build to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home, because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe the longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise, because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity, because you won't be disappointed and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
All right. DY, the official On3 publisher of the Colorado On3 site. Julian Lewis is playing quarterback now.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Well, they were in a 4-point game with Arizona State heading into the fourth quarter and then just melted down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I have not watched. I think the last time I watched an extensive amount of Colorado football was when they played BYU, which has probably been like early October and something like that. So it's been a minute.
Well, they haven't won a game since October 11th, and that was against Iowa State when the Cyclones, that was the first game the Cyclones were really depleted from an injury standpoint and had yet to adapt and modify some of the things they did to recover from those injuries. So Colorado hasn't won a game since then. I mean, they did hang with Arizona State, then just melted, but they lost to a West Virginia team, but West Virginia is improved. They got smashed by Arizona and Utah in that span. So 3 blowout losses. We talk about Juju Lewis probably being the quarterback, but something to consider here, and that I've been trying to kind of pin down on, to be quite honest, it doesn't make sense for him to play quarterback this week. It doesn't make sense to him to get on the field this week. He's at the 4-game threshold.
I mean, is he going to be around next year?
Yeah, but if he's not, wouldn't he want to not play too?
Yes. I mean, yes, of course. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Cole? Like, it doesn't really make sense for him to play. It's a lost season. He's at 4 games.
Yeah, you should sit. You should sit. Sure. Yeah. So that's what I'd do.
Have they been playing Caden Salter, or are they just going to Staub then if it's not Julian Lewis? Like, has Salter just like checked out?
He might have, but I'll look and see.
I know I saw someone else in the box score last week at.
Oh, but is it a trick play? Because it says Colton Allen.
Oh, Colton Allen. Yeah. Okay. I don't know who that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's not worked out very well this year it's not. Arizona State, like I said, was at least competitive going into the fourth quarter, and they were competitive at West Virginia, but they've had some, they had that stretch. They played Utah and Arizona and lost 105-24 cumulative score there. So the
last time that Salter played, or Staub, either one, was against Arizona when they lost 52-17. Salter was 11 of 15 for 49 yards. That's hard to do. Threw an interception. Ryan Staub threw two passes. They both got picked off.
That's fascinating. I apologize, guys. You could actually say I have cashed it in. So I will hold myself accountable. I did cash it in for the Colorado pregame show because I figured most of the discussion would still focus around.
Hey, next man up. I pulled it off, I think.
The next man up. So
well, DY, I don't know if you want to say me and you combined stumbled our way through a few box scores and like said things that were technically about the University of Colorado football team. Yes, we did do that. I don't know if we
didn't go in depth, but I think we got the headlines.
Yeah, well, and Chris Klieman said they have one of the best receiving cores they'll face. Omarion Miller torched Kansas State last year. He has 687 yards on the season this year. Joseph Williams, a transfer from Tulsa, is a guy that Kansas State chased out of the portal. Colorado's still not a great running team, 3.5 yards per carry. Quarterback situation's a bit of a mess. Defensively, they've taken a big step back this year from where they were the prior year after they made a big step defensively on that side of the ball. So FEI has Kansas State with a projected margin of winning by 15. The betting market has K-State around 17.5, 18 points. So we'll see how, invested Colorado is in this game, as well as Kansas State, and what both teams' mindset is. Colorado has nothing to play for, obviously, but pride.
Like, don't blame him at all, obviously. This isn't one of those things. But Coach Prime did use his Sunday to go watch Doris first start.
Well, hey, everybody's cashing it in a little bit, it's okay. And by the way, Cole still showed us up after all that. Like, he just, pulls up a couple pages on the internet, rolls right into it. You can't, you can try to stop, but you can't totally beat it out of you. This is why I think you're going to wind up at the game on Saturday, Cole.
There's one game there.
Vanessa wants to go more than I do. Look, it's not that I'm like completely checked out. I go to all the games. I went to the Blizzard, against Iowa State in 2023. I typically will try to go. It's just, I was kind of tired. Don't really know if I have the energy. Holiday weekend to make the trip. Brody doesn't want to go.
I haven't been home since Wednesday. Get a grip.
I know, man. I know you got a lot of travel, but cool experience for you in Bloomington tonight. That'll be neat.
Unless they get smacked, and then.
Well, look,
then you just got more toxicity on the way. I don't know. I need some positive moments. I do.
Well, see, that's a part of it, Cole. I was about to say I cut you some slack because we went to both games at Sprint Center, and it was like Friday. Within the span of 24 hours, it's like you have losing in the final second to Nebraska, and we were there in person, with the Nebraska fans, the Go Big Red chants, even echoing out into the parking garage as we're heading back to the car. And then 24 hours later, you got everything we just talked about with Utah, all that emotion and whatever wrapped up in all of that, man. So
not to give anyone a break, because I know nobody wants anyone to get a break right now. But like, I've about had it with the officials after that Nebraska and Utah games back to back, though.
Yeah. You would agree with that. Okay. On that front, okay, so my algorithm, thank you, Twitter. I should just use the following tab. The problem is I've just followed too many random people over the 10 years or whatever I've been on Twitter. But I've seen a lot of the Utah response to this. Okay, so what I have discerned here, and hopefully this will just make Cole angry again, because it seems like all I'm doing this show is just setting things up for Cole to get angry. But Utah fans say that the pass interference that was picked up in the end zone is because the ball was tipped, like grazed on the way there. If you look at the replay, you could maybe sell me on it grazed the fingertip of somebody and the rotation on the ball changed just a bit. Like, I actually on that one was like, that's very, very, very close. And Cole, I think you said you saw like the ref from behind come running in on that.
Well, no, the White was running all the way back down the field from ruling it a touchdown, and they were all huddled together. But John, if it was tipped, the official typically has an explanation that there's no pass interference because the ball was tipped.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't think that's what it was. But then again, these guys were incompetent clowns and bozos. So I believe that was the white hat that double reviewed the onside kick against Oklahoma that Kansas State recovered in Manhattan in 2021 as well. So, which, by the way, they made the correct ruling, but they had to go back and double review it. They reviewed a review. So
operationally it was wrong. Yep.
Yeah. So these guys, and I also saw like the point that Utah didn't sub on that one play.
And the ball went out of bounds.
Remember what happened against Arizona State last year, DY, where Kansas State was in a hurry up offense and the referees were standing over the ball because we got tackled on Kansas State's sideline. K-State didn't sub, but the refs were holding the play up. And then I learned the rule at that point because the fans were losing their minds. I learned the rule that if you get tackled on the opposing team's sideline or on your own sideline opposite the opponent, they have to hold the play to allow you to sub. And I didn't think Kansas State was really like jogging off that slow. Like they were, I've seen teams do it, abuse it far more. I think the bigger issue, the official wasn't even out of the area when they snapped the ball.
I will say Kansas State had a neutral zone infraction on that play that they missed anyway.
See, I'll fight you on that. There's so much here. Cole, first of all, the rule is you have to be going off at an athletic pace. And Damien, was it Damien?
They're defensive linemen. That's athletic.
It was an athletic pace for sure. It was the same pace that you see. You're right, Cole. You'll see guys jog slower than that. And so, yeah, ridiculous. And so you guys are telling me it doesn't even matter if you, because that has been the Utah pushback, is they're like, well, we didn't even sub. So it doesn't matter, is what you're telling me?
If you get tackled on the sideline, opposite sideline, and the other team on offense, and they get tackled on their own sideline, then the team is supposed to be allowed. I don't fully understand the way the rule is. Klieman explained it last year, I think, after the Arizona State game, because he was asked, and that's the first time that I had learned of it. So yeah, they were supposed to allow Kansas State time to complete the sub, and I thought K-State was moving fast enough. There was also the PI not called on Tibbs in the end zone. That was pretty blatant, considering that they called like Gunnar Maldonado earlier in the game for maybe touching a guy's hand on that third down play. And so just the inconsistencies that were really odd and suspicious. I've seen people clipping like the Ryan Davis play. Oh, this is what you're all mad about. No, I think every Kansas State fan in the world thinks that was an incredibly stupid play. So,
the hold on Lincoln cure. Terrible call.
Then Quay Moss is held DY on the boundary on a touchdown run, right? That play is always called a hold because it's so visible to the play side, and they didn't call it. So anyways, that crew, terrible, awful. Can I also, like the basketball game, can we get rid of what do you call it? The pool reporter concept, like having a pool reporter ask these idiots questions after the game when they have the timing error against Nebraska in basketball on Friday night, and the official just says, we noticed a clock malfunction. Like, you guys realize, like, they aren't allowed to do what they did, right? Like, that was so bad. They went back and reviewed the clock after Kansas State called a timeout. Like, they could only review the clock from the timeout on. Like, they couldn't review it.
For sure, because if Nebraska knew that clock, they probably don't miss the free throw on purpose.
And K-State was asking them to review the clock before the free throws, and they wouldn't review it. And then they went back and reviewed the timeout to see what the clock was and added time post pre-free throw.
I'd be pissed if I was Hoiberg because I wouldn't have missed the free throw on purpose in that.
Yeah, no, everybody should be pissed. The foul on Castillo was a foul. I'm not excusing that. John and I lost our minds on the McGriff foul, where I was watching the Players Era tournament last night. That same guy in the Houston-Syracuse game that called the foul on McGriff was doing that game. We've had him a lot. But yeah, they called the foul on McGriff. And I think my biggest issue has been, it feels like Kansas State has not getting the same calls at the rim on Friday night and maybe in other games that their opponents are getting. I don't know.
I'm just frustrated because it feels like, and maybe this is just a victim in us right now because we've been beat down so badly this year. But if I can't remember the last game, football or basketball, where we got a good whistle.
Some of this, I will just say, I feel like is probably every fan base says this to some extent. And I know I can already hear Utah fans in the comments saying that about the football stuff. That's why, to me, like, I know there's all the holding and pass interference and stuff that we could, to me, it's like the procedural things that really bother me. Like, that's why I focus in on the substitution thing, and I focus in on the pass interference in the end zone being picked up, because it's like, those seem pretty, like, yeah, give us the, if it was a tip ball, give us that explanation. And the sub thing, clearly, and DY, you brought up Malcolm Alcorn Crowder jumping into they're right there. They didn't throw a flag. I didn't think he actually got into the neutral zone.
I thought he actually hit the guy.
He's not past the ball. I guess he's not past the line of scrimmage. I don't know what, this is where my ignorance. What is the neutral zone? Is he actually in it? But they did not flag it. So
no, they didn't, but I thought they should have.
I'd have to look at it again. The illegal man downfield, probably the right call, but it was again weird that the flag mysteriously appeared and you got the sideline ref.
That could have been on two different guys for K-State, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
pretty ticky. I mean, it's like you get 3 yards, right? And
they were in the end zone. They were 5.
They were like 4 yards. I don't know. It felt very.
But then Utah had a similar play that didn't call.
Yeah, Utah ran an RPO action with the same thing where the guys were 3 to 4 yards.
I think it's the right call. Just call it on them too.
But whatever. It was a rough 24 hours for watching my teams and officials. Yeah, and you guys know my stance on refs. I actually feel like I maintained a pretty level head, on the show talking about these guys. Usually I would have burned it all down. So,
well, yeah, that's because you got distracted by Chris Klieman.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks to Chris Klieman for distracting my whole talking point and angle. about officials. Yeah, that was bizarre. And then to start the Chiefs game, they get the face mask on Joanne Taylor. I'm like, okay, I can't deal with this any longer. But then
I know, people non-Chiefs fans don't like hearing about it or whatever. But yeah, I was just like, look, when the Chiefs got down 20-9, when Kareem Hunt fumbled for the first time since 2017, I was just like, I'm quitting sports. Like, why do I do this to myself? It's given me nothing but misery over the last 3 days. I know you Chiefs have all this success. I get it. I'm talking about the 48-hour period of Friday through Sunday at that point, through Sunday at about like 2:45. I was just like, this is all I do is just sign up to get myself kicked in the balls every single day. Like, why do I do this?
Oh, you want to know? I have a why do I do this lock. So
I would have really just like the Utah game. If they would have just went and lost by like 24, it would have been much easier on my emotions. That's what I expect.
Yeah, I mean
I got bought.
But didn't you say 45-10 or something?
Yes, but like, yeah, I did, and I was terribly wrong, obviously, and I'll hold myself accountable, which I did on the post game too, guys. I said I was terribly wrong about the outcome of that game.
I didn't think they'd score, and they almost got 50. So,
but like, you know, like you guys saw the text flying around during the game in our group text. I really wanted them to win. Like it hurt me that they lost that game. None of us are rooting against Kansas State or Chris Klieman.
I think a lot of what happened afterwards was because that game invoked a lot of pain for everyone.
Yeah. Now I saw also comparisons it to being one of the most painful. It's not even close to one of the most painful.
Cole, hang on. Hold on to that thought. All right. I got some quick hitters for you.
Okay. I forgot we're doing the pregame show. It's like, I forgot the format.
Yeah.
We're off the rails like year one.
It's probably like, you guys are at an hour, you assholes. You're keeping to do this.
Okay. Which loss was more painful for you, Cole? Nebraska ball or Utah?
Nebraska. So is that weird? Probably because I was there in person. Nebraska fans are super annoying, and I'm pretty bought in and invested in the basketball team right now, guys. Like, you know, the Utah win, you're going to finish 7-5. Basketball 6-0. Like, they've got a lot of room for error or margin for error in the non-con the rest of the way if they win that.
DY?
I wasn't at either game because I got too sick to go to the Utah game despite being in the actual city. Probably Utah, the way that went down. That was tough.
To me, it is Utah. I understand the sentiment, Cole, and I was there too. But Utah got me, man. It's it's not even just they had the lead. It's this record-setting performance and like just everything that happened. Everything that happened afterwards too. There was too much. All right, so we've got Chris Klieman against Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Over under 1.5. How many of the head coaches in Saturday's game will be coaching at the same school in 2026?
For me, this is just about Coach Prime. So,
wow, way to add that caveat, DY, and leave the mystery on. Take the mystery.
I almost think it could be a Baylor situation. The fact that he doesn't have an athletic director helps him as long as he doesn't quit himself. And I don't know that he just quits. I think Coach Prime will have to be convinced to stop coaching. He would coach until he dies, I think. So I'll say over. That is still coaching, right?
Yeah, they'll be coaching in 26. Yeah,
they both still coach. Yep.
I'll take the under with no explanation on what I'm indicating.
Yeah.
Okay. DY, I don't know, man. It's Prime. It does seem. I mean, Rick George it's a weird situation at Colorado, right? Rick George is the outgoing athletic director. He's retiring. Obviously, he's the guy who hired him. He gave him a vote of confidence, but which you would say, like, oh, yeah, that's not always great. But he's leaving too. I guess I'll say over, but I wonder about.
I don't know if they can afford to fire him either. They might be in a similar spot, right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Does he want to go just watch Shedeur in the NFL? If Shedeur gets a starting quarterback job, that would be.
That's fair.
Maybe
he's walking away from a lot of money. He makes a lot of money, but
over a quarterback matchup: Julian Lewis, Avery Johnson. Over under 1.5. How many of the starting quarterbacks that play in this game will be playing at the same school in 2026?
I'll say, can I say under? Because I don't think Julian's going to play in this game.
Okay. I'll accept that technicality. Yes.
I'll go under with no explanation as to it.
I think Avery's going to, if all signs point to Avery being back. That's what
I do.
It does definitely seem like Avery's going to be back. But yeah, I'll still take one. I don't think Julian Lewis winds up there next year.
Yeah, if I just told you I think Dion's going to be gone, then I think the quarterback recruit will be gone too.
All right, Cole, since the question was asked this week, outside of 1998 Texas A&M, what is the most painful ending to a K-State football game that you've experienced?
So we're going on ending then. Is that the way?
Well, I guess, it's tough because like if you just, I think the way it was phrased was like most painful loss. And it's like that encompasses so many things. I know people brought in 2012 Baylor, but I started thinking about most painful loss. Cole, I spent 20 minutes last night watching a no huddle kind of version of the 2000 Big 12 championship game. Did you know we picked off Josh Heupel's ass 3 times in that game and still lost? He threw an interception at like the 5-yard line, and they did cash that in and score. But the offense just could not move the ball on Oklahoma.
Wasn't there a bogus PI call or a really questionable one on Jared Cooper?
Jared Cooper, yeah, I know that's one people always point to, but really, it just felt to me watching that game, I was like, K-State's offense didn't have it, man. They did not. They had ample opportunity to get up by like 3 scores early in the game and didn't do it. And eventually,
Aaron Luckett returned a punt for
So the touchdowns that they scored, the 3 touchdowns K-State had were set up by an interception inside the Oklahoma 10-yard line, an Aaron Luckett punt return for a touchdown, and a desperation with like 10 seconds left, just throw it up to Quincy Morgan in the back of the end zone when you're down by 10. Those were the touchdowns. Like, so the offense did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that game was the very first one, John, that came to mind outside of Baylor in 2012 as like most painful results. You're in the Big 12 championship, and you're playing a OU team that beat you in the regular season in a revenge spot. I really vividly remember that game. That was incredibly painful. I'm sure I could come up with others that really hurt as well.
Well, honestly, Cole, the other one is 2000 Oklahoma in Manhattan.
Oh yeah, that killed us. Like that college game day in Manhattan, the hype, Oklahoma K-State top 10 matchup. Yeah, that one. Like 2000 Colorado was a killer in Boulder.
I've got another Colorado one, 1995 Colorado. They win that game. They're going to the Cotton Bowl, which was a huge deal back then. And they scored with K-State scores with it was under 3 minutes left or something. And then Colorado went right back down the field. And then K-State gets the ball back. And I want to say Matt Miller got strip sacked. Colorado scored again late. So it looked weird. They lost by 10, but they had gone ahead with under 2 minutes left.
DY, I'm sorry you're having to listen to us go down memory lane from 25 years ago.
Oh, I got one more. I didn't even see this one on TV. It was not televised, if this tells you about the era. But 2004 Colorado, which was when the bowl streak still meant something, and they were that game at the end of the year, Colorado, I think it was Joel Klatt actually completed in essence a Hail Mary to beat them at the very end of the game. And I just remember listening to Wyatt call it on the radio.
Yeah. There was also it was the 04 Colorado. That was the one. Is that where Mason Crosby kicked a 52-yarder in Manhattan?
That was the next year, I believe.
I was in the student section for that. Okay, because that was the one where Jermaine Morera fumbled the punt.
Yeah,
and they were so arrogant about Mason Crosby, correctly so. They were taking kneel downs at the 35-yard line to kick a 53-yarder.
Yeah,
yeah. We could come up with probably more if I gave it more thought. There were some Nebraska games so that 97 got blown out. Yeah,
that's a problem. So many of those were blowouts. DY, thoughts?
Good podcasting, boys.
Okay.
Ohio State Fiesta Bowl against DY's Bucks.
Yeah.
Any of the Michigan losses for me the past few years.
Happy Michigan week, DY.
Round up 98 Michigan State. Whew.
We should have put an X over the M in Manbeck for you, DY. Just X out that M,
In 3-all.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
3-all.
3-all. Okay. Who's the Big 12 coach of the year? And who's the first team all Big 12 quarterback? I'll go. I would give it to Joey McGuire, but I think it's close. Would have helped if Willie Fritz had beaten TCU, if his kicker didn't shank 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, and he would be sitting at 9 wins right now with a chance for a 10th against Baylor. Like Willie Fritz, definitely in the combo. Obviously, Kalani Sitake's in the combo. You even Brent Brennan, Kenny Dillingham, I think should be in the combo.
I'm going to give it to Kalani Sitake. He's going to take his team to the Big 12 championship game after losing his quarterback about a month or two before the season.
Good point.
Yep, I'm going to give it to Satake as well, and also back-to-back years with 10 wins or more. Like pretty incredible what he's done, and
The quarterback, man, I have no clue off the top of my head.
what they've done with Bear Bachmeier, freshman quarterback, again, is incredible.
Here, I think it's a 2-man race. I think it's Bear Bachmeier or Noah Fafita, honestly.
I was going to go Bachmeier, but then I was like, well, because I think it has to be on a team that's pretty good too. Still, I think that matters. Kind of, and a lot of the Correx got hurt or underperformed.
Sorsby was probably it 3 weeks ago, but he's fallen off a cliff. So
I might go Bear Bachmeier.
Man, are we trying to make the Arizona fans mad at us again?
Yeah,
Noah Fafita statistically has had a really good season, and they're going to be 8-4 or 9-3. So
yeah, I'll go with.
They're the most improved team from the start of the season until now, because I still would say to this point, the version that of Arizona that Kansas State got was not very good.
Agree.
Yeah. Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham, not saying coach of the year again, but he's done a pretty nice job when you factor in the injuries he's dealt with.
I think depending on, if it were circumstance, and like he's done a Big 12 coach of the year worthy job. I don't think he should win it, but dude, he's winning games with Jeff Sims, man. He's got Jeff Sims like touchdown to interception ratio. Last I looked was like 5-1. In career, it's like 1-1. So I don't, he's found a way to resurrect some quarterbacks. All right, lead pipe block of the week. Me and DY are tied at 6-5.
Oh boy,
Cole is at 5-6. If you can remember, Cole and I had a hilarious discussion now in retrospect last week about how we both felt like taking Utah was the obvious pick. We fought over whether we could both do it. I said, no, that's okay, Cole. I'll take another one, which you're like, oh, okay, good. Smart, John. You got off it. Only to take Maryland to cover against Michigan, who lost by like 28. So I lost anyway. What's up?
I don't remember who I had.
I went back and listened, and you got it right. I don't remember who it was, but you did get it. So DY and I are tied at 6-5. Cole is at 5-6. So Cole, that means you gotta pick something different. And look, I was looking across the board, and I didn't love much. I'm just going to, speaking of Kalani Sitake, I'm going to trust in BYU to win by 18 or more at home and take BYU minus 17.5 at home against UCF. But my hesitation there is that they're banged up right now. Chase Roberts, arguably their best receiver, got hurt last week. And then Bear Bachmeier and LJ Martin were pretty beat up. LJ Martin had like 30 carries and was kind of hobbling by the end of the game. So you combine that with maybe just some nerves of having to win that game to get to the Big 12 title game. I don't know. I didn't feel totally great about it, but I'll rock with BYU.
What do you got, Cole?
I thought I was supposed to go last since I'm behind you guys.
I think that is fair.
Well, I'm going to do it to myself. Like I said, we do it to yourself as a fan. I got Ohio State minus 10.
Oh, no.
Give it to me.
No.
They're winning by 20 plus this year in Ann Arbor.
Oh, no.
It's happening. Yep, I'm doing it. And you're going to lose your bet, and I'm going to win the second year in a row, and I'm going to do it on Ohio State spanking Michigan in the Big House.
Oh,
Man.
wow.
You're going to be really distracted from that watching Colorado K-State at the same time. I don't know how you'll be able to tune in. I'm going to take Michigan plus. No, I'm joking. I was actually gonna joke with you that I was gonna do that before you did that. I'm half tempted here. Like rivalry games, obviously it's rivalry game weekend. I was tempted to take Arizona State at home against Arizona at plus 1.5.
By the way, Arizona's who I had last week.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna take Texas versus Texas A&M. Plus
Thought
2.5.
I thought
Plus 2.5. I just, this is Texas season at this point. Like, they're probably not going to the playoff. But
Actually, they win.
A&M, frankly, I guess A&M they're playing for a bye, right? So if they lose, they could fall out of the top 4. So they do have something to play for, and it's their rivals. So they'll be invested. But I think Texas at home, they're going to be eager to get this one.
I think Texas wins. They could still get in a playoff.
it's possible.
Yeah. I think you're eliminating that possibility a little too quick there.
I should never eliminate
And they would have one of the best wins of the season if they won that game.
Yeah.
And
Right.
one of their losses is to the number 1 team in the country.
All right, drum roll, please. What everybody's been waiting for. Your prediction for K-State, Colorado. Derek, the DY Bowl. What do you got?
I haven't even put too much thought into it, honestly. I will say Kansas State wins 28-14.
I'll take K-State 34-17. So
Yeah, we're all very similar. I had K-State 31-17. Guess not quite covering, actually. Do all of us have Colorado covering just by a bit?
yeah, just barely for me. If it depends on where the sharp movement happens, guys. If it could fall below 17.5 on game day. And fascinating that Matt Wells went in the box the next to last game of the year at the same time that they moved Connor Riley last year down to the field in Cincinnati. So
You know what? On that point, while we're airing frustrations,
Did you hear the justification for it, too?
yeah, it wasn't good. Didn't like it. I was hoping there was some other strategic reason for it, but I just
He said he basically said the stadium is too loud.
well, not only that, but then the question was asked, are you going to do it again this week? And he was kind of like beating around the bush, joking. The answer is yes. It sounds like they're going to do it again this week, but it was kind of like this jokey getting to it. I'm like, hey, man, that's kind of maddening. Like, all of a sudden the offense looked great when you did that, and you point out these things. He also said, he was like, well, it also kind of gave him a chance to, be away from all the distractions of the sideline and better, have a better big picture view of everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's why OCs do that a lot. Like, why wait until no?
yeah.
And then the answer was cold. The answer was, are you going to do it again this week? And it's kind of like, oh, haha. Well, I mean, yes, we are, of course, because it's like, well,
yeah. The whole like, oh, I bet Wellesley will want to be up there because it'll be cold. Like, okay, guys, like let's not joke about it. All right. So here's the thing: it's gonna really screw with K-State fans' minds is if like they go hang 45 on Colorado with Wells in the box, they go play in a bowl game and they hang 40 plus. Like, it's gonna be like, okay. It could have been like this all season, and then you don't know, like, what do you have in Matt Wells as OC? Like, all the criticism, maybe it was just because he couldn't see the damn field or wasn't getting the right, I mean,
The way you said that, because he couldn't see the damn field.
because you can't see the field down on the sideline. I hate being down on the sideline. Where I sit, you can see the whole field. It's so much easier. That's why offensive coordinators sit up there, to John's point. So, like, I wouldn't blame him if he's not getting. You're relying on people relaying down to you what the defense is doing and what it looks like when you're down on the sideline as the OC. So, yeah. I mean, I know the Chiefs, like Matt Nagy and Andy Reid, they're obviously on the field, so different there.
right. Like, I get that there are different ways to do it. And the Connor Riley thing, it kind of made sense. Offensive line coach, like, maybe that makes sense to be better to be down the, like, but just change it up. Like, try something different, figure it out, get it right the first time. Like, I don't,
Yeah. Maybe do it after Army. Maybe before the seasons.
North Dakota.
Sure, sprinkle it in. Like, I felt like the whole season you wasn't.
The way you said that, sprinkle it in, it's like, oh, we'll call some trace.
I feel like the whole reason he wasn't in the booth to start was because, like, the angle at Ireland in that stadium was so awful. Like, he was going to be down on the field, and they just stuck with it. Like,
That's true. I remember.
I don't know. This is, man.
well, the offense was a total wagon against Iowa State. So, I don't know why you'd go away from that.
Yeah.
I guess they did score 38 against North Dakota. I don't.
We had our longest show of the year on the bingo card for Colorado pregame.
Where we talked very little about the game.
That's what I hope that there are Colorado. Remember all the Colorado fans last year that were just like showing up to hear what we would say about them? I hope that they're There's at least one Colorado fan who was like ready to be a keyboard warrior and is like, all right, I'm going to hear what these a-holes have to say. And he just sat through an hour and 17 minutes and was like, they said like 4 words about this. And that John and Derek guy, they didn't know what they were just reading ESPN box scores. They didn't know anything about Colorado.
It's because we won't respect your program, Colorado. You guys haven't been relevant in decades. Remember what I said about you last year. You have no respect for you. Cordell Stewart's not walking through the door anymore, okay?
Rashawn Salam.
No, I wasn't going to go there. So,
what? I was just Rashawn Salam. He's a good player.
He was a good player, but, he passed away.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay, sorry.
Didn't he?
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
You're clearly not wrong. I was just, yeah.
I hope he did. We just didn't make that up.
Yeah, no. Maybe we need to fact check that. Nick, can you confirm that? Yeah, I'm sure. All right, we'll move on.
Chris Brown. There's another one. The running back. The running back. Yeah, Bobby Purify. Yeah, Bobby Purify and Chris Brown. They ran for like 1 million yards on Nebraska that one time.
Rashawn Salam, R.I.P.
Okay.
2016.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, that's sad. He was a great player. Okay, Colorado football. Didn't they get a new Ralphie this year too?
Yeah.
All right.
Hasn't helped.
Has not helped. No, new Ralphie's record is not good.
Did you know I didn't meet Ralphie. I met another Buffalo for a photo shoot for the Manhattan Mercury at a Buffalo farm outside of Manhattan where I picked Willie the Wildcat up.
You say you met a buffalo like you had like a conversation.
I was out there with the buffalo in the Buffalo farm field for about 10 feet away with Willie the Wildcat doing a photo shoot for the Manhattan Mercury where I picked Willie the Wildcat up from his apartment in Manhattan. He didn't talk to me the whole drive out to the Buffalo farm. And, he had his head sticking out the window because his head was too big in my Honda Accord. So he had to roll the window down. And it was just really...
Are you serious? You were just driving with Willie's head out your passenger window?
Yes, John. We were cruising down Anderson.
Why didn't you just take it off and sit it in the back seat?
No, I couldn't see who he was. He wouldn't let me see who he was. He never took his head off. So he was...
I feel like you could do it on that.
Well, he wouldn't talk to me either the whole drive. Like, just every time I said something to him, he'd rub his nose and do all that. We're pulling
out
up
the window. Like, you would just be like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And he's like out the window, just like doing this.
Yeah, like he'll like turn and like uncomfortably look at me, and like it was. So yeah, he just came out of his apartment in full uniform with the head on. I took him out to the Buffalo farm. We're at the Buffalo farm before the farmer that owns it gets there, and we're doing this all for the photo shoot for the Colorado game in 2009. And the buffalo is standing 15 feet from us, staring at us with its tail straight up in the air. And Willie and I are standing next to each other, and the buffalo's just looking right at us. The buffalo guy that owns the farm comes driving in with his tires spinning out, gets out of the car, yelling at us to get back immediately. And he goes, "Do you not understand? He's about to charge you." That tail, because the head of the Willie was making it angry. So lo and behold, I could have gotten that. He was like, the guy goes, "Do you think that barbed wire fence is holding that thing back? It is going to take you out." And then I got a little scared because then I was like, well, now we got to go shoot a photo with it, like in the open field. So I stayed in like the gator thing. And then we took the photo. I wish I still had a copy of it. I probably do somewhere. Shout out to Manhattan Mercury. And then I drove Willie back home. And we kept hitting stoplights on Anderson Avenue, and like college students were like looking at us weird, like as we pulled up the stoplights, because I had Willie just sitting in it.
This was all for like a Colorado game?
Just a Colorado B8 pregame, or the cover photo for the pregame page of the Manhattan Mercury.
What year?
2009.
I remember that Colorado. I called that game on student radio. Remember that game. That was not a game worthy of going through all that effort. Those were two pretty mediocre teams.
So, John, this is what I strive to do. K-State won 20-6, and Bill Snyder comes into the press conference after the game and pounds his fist on the podium, livid with the way they played, and was as mad as I'd seen him. And yeah, you're right. I think I went with the header because I think they were leaving the league. When did they leave? Did they leave after 09 or 10?
10 was their last year.
And K-State beat them in 10 too, right?
I think lost in Boulder. It was a crazy game.
Oh, they left in K-State
K-State's last game against them was 2010. I know that.
Got it. Oh, I remember what I did. When K-State beat them in basketball, I went with the headline, in the last matchup in basketball ever, I went with the headline, "See you later, Buffs." So
nice. Cole, remember that? I mean, I feel like that's a nice bow and everything. Snyder used to get real mad when they won. I remember when they won in 2011 at Texas. At Texas. A double-digit win team for K-State won at Texas. And Bill Snyder was as furious as I have ever seen him in the postgame press. It was not, I'm not going to apologize for winning in Austin. It was, we were terrible. This was an unacceptable. He was so mad. So mad. I was like kind of scared. I was a young reporter at that point. I was like, good Lord, you just beat Texas, dude.
yeah, that was the game. The offense was a disaster, and Chris Harper had the touchdown catch, I think, to basically win. Yeah. So
yeah. All right. We'll get out of here. Thanks to Holiday. Thanks to Alenko. Thanks to Nick Springer for putting up with us. Appreciate all of you for listening to it. Hope you enjoyed this one, and hope you have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. For DY and Cole, I'm John. Thanks for listening to 3 Ma. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.